Warning. Pregnant women, the elderly, and children under 16 should avoid prolonged exposure to Dirt Diggler. Dirt Diggler may suddenly accelerate to dangerous speeds. Dirt Diggler has high gluten content and is not kosher, halal, or vegan safe. Do not ingest Dirt Diggler, as Dirt Diggler is for external use only. Discontinue listening to Dirt Diggler if any of the following occurs: itching, vertigo, dizziness, discoloration of urine, tingling in extremities, loss of balance or coordination, slurred speech, temporary blindness, profuse sweating, heart palpitations, increased use of profanity. If listening to Dirt Diggler gives you an erection lasting longer than 4 hours, you're welcome. Listening to Dirt Diggler may lead to unplanned pregnancies. If Dirt Diggler begins to smoke, get away immediately. Seek shelter and cover head. Dirt Diggler may stick to certain types of skin. When not in use, Dirt Diggler should be returned to a special container and kept under refrigeration. The ingredients of Dirt Diggler include, but are not limited to, a glowing substance which fell to the earth, presumably from outer space, and bad memories. Do not taunt Dirt Diggler. Dirt Diggler does not come with a lifetime guarantee. Dirt Diggler. Enjoy the show.
Extra heat.
All right, once again, it is the Dirt Diggler,
That's
the
right,
dirtiest
bitches.
Diggler ever Diggler for Dirt Cut Diggler. And I took last week off. I didn't really take it off. I was busy. Well, I'm going to talk about that. All right, so let me get into the schedule of today's events, so to speak. We have, of course, I'm going to explain why I missed last week and how that doesn't make me a horrible human being. We're going to go over some tidbits from week 12 and 13, as well as the week 14 predictions. We're going to go over what's going on in Philly, problems and needs in Philadelphia with the Eagles. There's kind of a thing going on over there, and it's not the best, so we're going to be getting into that. We're going to go over, so who's the truth in the AFC West? There's 3 teams that are doing quite well, and only one of them really is going to do anything, so we're going to talk about that. Cleveland, still winless. We're going to talk about that. We're not going to cover the beer of the week. We're going to go over the childhood food of the week, mainly because it's 10:50 in the morning, and drinking beer at this point in time might be seen as a problem by others. I don't know. Maybe, all the vets out there is drinking at 10:30 a problem, 10:50, is that a problem? No? Yeah? No? It's counseling? Maybe counseling? We'll get into that. And we're going to go over the prerequisite hot take of the week. So let's get into it, right? So the downtime, again, I missed several weeks, and then I came back, and I had the show with D from down south, and it was like an hour and a half, and it was an epic show, and it was a lot of things, and folks really enjoyed it. It was a good time. I enjoyed making the show. But I missed the next week. It's like, so what's going on with you, Dirty? Dirty, how could you come back into the light and then go back into the shadows? Like, I will tell you why. Look, my friends and my family demanded that I spend time with them over the last couple of weeks. And you know what? I was more than happy to be there and oblige. You know what I'm saying? Like this podcast stuff, I really do enjoy doing my podcast. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to other folks about it. I enjoy having folks on the show. But, real life takes precedence. So, like, if I got a close friend that wants to do something, hey, I'm going to go. If I've got my children or my wife that want to do something, hey, that's just what it is. And when I get back, if there's no podcast time, there's just no podcast time. And that's what happened. In fact, that's why I didn't do a show yesterday. I would like to have done the show yesterday, but I was out and about doing stuff for my family. So it is what it is, man. I mean, it's better than being sick. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd much rather just be busy with life than be all laid up, sick, coughing up Smurfs all the damn time. And that's why I can't do the show. So the reasonings behind not doing it are a lot more benevolent when you're just, going about your family duties as a father-husband figure. Either way. So let's go over the happenings of week 12 and 13, right? So I'm not going to go over game by game. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do game by game because that's a lot of games, and I don't feel like talking about each game in depth from weeks 12 and 13. But I will give a rundown of significant events and some standings that are our result, because we're getting close to the end of the season, and the playoff picture is starting to take shape. You have some teams that have already clinched a berth, and you have other teams that are very, very close to doing so. And those same teams are probably going to clinch a first-round bye. Either way, let's get into it. So I went 8-3 with my uneducated predictions for Week 12. And I didn't do Week 13, but I went 8-3. Now, what shocks me is I look back at it. I missed a game. I missed the Oakland-Carolina game, and that was a bit of a barn burner, and I missed it. I totally didn't account for it. I don't know how I missed it. There may have been alcohol involved. Look, I don't know, man. I don't know. Either way, I didn't account for it. I didn't call the game. Didn't predict it. It ended up that Oakland won. Has been the case most times this year, but Oakland won, and Carolina did not, which has also been the case most times this year. So we're going to move on. That brings my predictions overall to 59, 36, and 2. So I'm still doing better than most of the talking heads. I don't think there's anybody in a suit on a stage wearing makeup that's calling these games better than I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's been a few times where I've actually like been within a point or actually nailed the score of both teams. I don't see that happening with the guys on Fox or CBS or ESPN or the NFL channel. These guys aren't doing it, and they get paid a hell of a lot more than me because I don't get paid shit. So the fact that they get paid at all means that they're getting, of course, you know, these are all like Hall of Famers and media personalities and blah, blah, blah. Either way, look, my predictions are better is what I'm saying, and they kiss my ass. Fuck those guys. So, like I said, we're not going to do the game rundown, but we are going to talk about some teams. So, Dallas still remains unbeaten since the Giants beat them in Week 1, right? So, all you Cowboys fans out there, you guys are dusting off your jerseys. Some of you are getting brand new jerseys, don't even have names on them. Some of you are trying to trade in your old Seahawks and Panthers jerseys for Cowboys jerseys. I have not seen Dallas fans this excited since they were Carolina fans last year. Let me just say that right now. I have not seen Dallas fans this excited since they were Carolina fans last year. So, hey, I understand. I understand. You got to pick your team. And some of y'all lifelong Cowboys fans got Cam Newton jerseys you were sporting last year. Just saying. Some of y'all buying your first Cowboys jersey, but y'all been lifelong fans. Just thought I would share that with you. That's your fanship, and that's why no one likes you. Either way, you guys haven't lost since Week 1, but in our reality, you haven't played an elite team. You played teams that, for the most part, are not doing well right now, and that's been your saving grace. Yes, you are a solid team. I'm not sitting here to tell you that you're a shitty team. You're a solid team. Just like the last hot take, you ain't played nobody, though. And I'm telling you that second round of the playoffs, when you guys play, you might just take an ass whooping, even at home, because you're barely beating shitty teams. You're barely beating really shitty teams, which is not how a champion gets down. So, you know, it is what it is. So, the Pats, however, and it pains me to say this, they remain an elite team because when they play shitty teams, they blow them out of the fucking water, which is what an elite team does. Elite teams smoke shitty teams, and they beat elite teams. And the Patriots have done that this year. The Cowboys have not. So the Patriots have the right to call themselves elite. They still have one of the most elite passers in Tom Brady, who's like the personification of a high-end system quarterback. They have one of the best coaching minds in Belichick. And they've been able to build a solid stable of talent around that team for many years and dominated that really shitty division, the AFC East, which the AFC East is so bad. But that, you know, they still win games outside of their division, so I can't be too mad at them for that. You know, whether or not they cheat to do it is irrelevant at this point, but they still win. The Ravens are the Ravens are tied atop the AFC North with Pittsburgh, which is odd. I didn't think I'd be saying that. I expected Pittsburgh to be doing better. They've lost some games that maybe they should have won, and maybe the Ravens got away with a couple wins that maybe they shouldn't have. Either way, they're tied at the top, and I believe the Ravens own the tiebreaker right now. So that division is yet to be settled, the AFC North. So look for that to settle in Week 17. I mean, it's really going to be played to the end of the season, and we'll see who takes that division. The Chiefs are on top of the AFC West since they knocked off the Raiders, who were on top of the AFC West in a freaking awesome game on Thursday Night Football. One of the best Thursday Night Football games I think I've seen. You had Derek Carr out there with his broke-ass finger trying to throw passes, and the Chiefs' defense was there, and it was a comeback. And it was impressive. There was a lot of things that happened. The Chiefs have been very entertaining to watch this year, as have the Raiders. So the AFC West has provided some good entertainment this year. Houston is on top of the AFC South with a stunning record of 500. So they're 6-6, and they're on top of their division. And that goes to reinforce my besmirching of the AFC South. That is a really bad division. When your division leader at this late in the season is at 500, and that's terrible. that means no one in your entire division is better than 500. Your division leader. Every year, there's one division that does this. Well, I remember it was the AFC West some years back, and then the East did it. But the AFC South has habitually just been shitty since Peyton Manning left. They have just been a really bad division down there. I mean, the Jaguars are quote unquote the best 2-10 team you'll ever play. So that tells me that they're that, like, for those that played sports, right? You know, that team that didn't have a lot of wins, but they went out there and you played them and they gave you like all that you can handle, but you still managed to win. And they did that. And you come out the game and you're like, wow, I respect that team. They gave us the business, but we managed to come back and win, or we managed to, to hold on and win. Everyone's doing that to this team. So they're not that good, but they're really optimistic about it. So I guess that makes it better. So the Lions are on top of the NFC North. And I never thought I would say that this late in the season. But yes, the Lions are, in fact, leading the NFC North. They're on top of a really, really bad Chicago team. They're on top of a struggling Green Bay team. And they're on top of a Vikings team that was supposed to be favored this year, even with the injury of Bridgewater because of how Sam Bradford was playing. But unfortunately for Sam Bradford, which is crazy because he's still healthy, right? He's had his entire offensive line fall apart. There's just been too many injuries in Minnesota for them to be competitive at this point in the season. So I don't see anybody really challenging Detroit for that division. I don't mean unless something happens with Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers morph into something different. I see the Lions taking this division and maybe going into the playoffs. They could stand to stun some folks this year. They're playing some really good football. My God, they're winning some close games, and you know what? That's what it takes to win. You gotta, against good teams. See, that's the thing. You gotta win against good teams, right? You can't just sit here and beat up on tomato cans, Dallas, and consider yourself the greatest ever. You gotta win on the road. You gotta win against really good teams. You can't just feast on, dumpster juice and say that you're eating like a king because you're not. Either way. Atlanta is tied on top of the AFC, the NFC South with the Bucks, which I never thought I'd say that. But, early on, I'm not going to lie. Early in the season, I expected the Bucks to do some damage this year. I just didn't know if they would challenge Atlanta. They've come along farther than I anticipated. The Bucks have. They've lost some games, once again, that they should have won. And they won some games that they shouldn't have. Like, they beat Seattle last week. What? Yes, the Bucks beat Seattle. Uncle Rico beat Cornball Russell Wilson. In a football game, he outdueled them. So they're a strange team. So the NFC South has got to be one of the most inconsistent divisions, right? You have an explosive offense still in New Orleans that can put up 50 points on you. You have an explosive offense with Atlanta. You've got a good defense and a solid offense with Tampa. This is just. And then you have Carolina, who's shit. But then you have, but those three top teams, they actually can stand to win on any given week because they don't. It's like they don't have an identity yet. Still, like you want to say that Atlanta is this offensive juggernaut, but then they get like shut down on offense completely, and the defense might step up and win one for them. And it's just weird. It's hard to call those games because you really don't know what you're going to get out of that division. You have Drew Brees, who's a Hall of Famer. You have rock solid, Matty Ice in there, and then you have Uncle Rico, who's shaping up to be a solid player. I think another couple years he's gonna be really good, especially if he can get his maturity level where it needs to be to keep himself out of trouble. Jameis Winston could stand to do some damage in the league for quite some time. That was a good pick on behalf of the Bucks to go with him. You couldn't go wrong with Mariota either, because Mariota's killing it in Tennessee. So either one of those picks. This isn't a Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning selection where one was obviously better than the other. In hindsight, these guys are both shaping up to be quite good. So that's encouraging. That's nice to see some good young quarterbacking talent go into the league. Moving on. So for those of you who were watching the Seahawks-Bucks game and you know that they lost, the Seahawks are still on top of the NFC West. So just know that teams like the Rams and the Niners will ensure that a team like the Cardinals or the Seahawks will be on top of the division forever because they're terrible teams. And by the way, the Rams just signed Jeff Fisher, Mr. 7-9 himself, to a 2-year extension, which no one outside of that organization understands because I don't know. Is he trolling the Rams? Like, remember, he was a yard and a half shy of a win in Tennessee for the Super Bowl when they played the Greatest Show on Turf. So maybe this is like some long game where Jeff Fisher just bleeds this franchise for denying him his ring when he had Steve McNair. Maybe this is what that is, because nothing else makes sense. I don't understand how this guy could still be employed as a head coach in Los Angeles. I don't understand how he could be employed as a head coach anywhere. But there he is, getting extension after extension, somehow existing against teams like Seattle and Arizona, who he's been good against, but those, 3 to 4 wins you get per year, that's all you're getting out of that team, for the most part. So I don't understand how Jeff Fisher could have gotten extended, but he did. So you can look at teams like the Seahawks leading that division for the next several years, because there's simply like the Niners. Jeb York doesn't give a shit. He's kind of just like owns a football team. He doesn't know. He's like 30-something years old. He's a piece of shit. He's trying to party, and that's it. He has his new stadium. He moved it out of San Francisco. The Niners are a mess, and they're not gonna change anytime soon because the ownership's so bad. But and talking about some things. So remember when Gronkowski got assassinated by Earl Campbell earlier this year, like 3-4 weeks ago? Like, it was crazy, right? So you had Cam Chancellor hanging off his back, and Earl Campbell came up and stuck him in the chest with what had to be the most solid, clean football hit I think I've ever seen. I mean, Gronkowski's a large person, and this guy stopped him literally dead in his tracks. I don't mean like he hit him and he went down. No, I mean he hit him. All momentum stopped. Gronkowski went to his knees and went down, and you could tell he was injured. You could tell something broke inside him. Now, where it broke was the question, right? So what all did he break? Weeks later, we come to find out that he punctured a lung. Like, the immediate injury on Gronkowski from Earl Campbell was a punctured lung. And you're like, wow, that's pretty solid. But then, like, a couple weeks later, you hear Gronkowski's back is jacked up. And you're trying to figure out how. You're like, so how did Gronkowski's back get jacked up? And I'll tell you, I think Earl Campbell hit him hard enough that it did hurt his back, like, severely. I think he hurt he didn't just puncture the lung. I think the punctured lung is what stood out immediately. But I think under that, there was a back injury. So Gronk goes into surgery. Gronk is done for the season. Oh, man. So Party Boy himself is done. He's done for the year. That doesn't hurt the Patriots as much because they have Martellus Bennett, who's pretty damn good. But if for as good as Martellus Bennett is, he's not a Gronkowski. The Madden curse. It's a thing. It got Gronk. Gronk's down. So fast forward a week or two, Earl Campbell breaks his leg. Earl Campbell's done for the year. Earl Campbell's contemplating retirement. Those are not things that I think anybody who's a fan of football want to really hear, is that Earl Campbell, who's one of the best, if not the best safety in all of football right now, is contemplating retirement this early in his career. But what has he got to prove? I mean, he's got a ring. I just don't know if he's a Hall of Famer yet. Like, does he have the body of work to consider himself a Hall of Famer? I mean, there's not a lot of safeties in the Hall of Fame. There's not a lot. You're probably you got your Ronnie Lott. You're gonna get Ed Reed and maybe Dawkins, and that's like really it. Maybe, I mean, Rod Woodson, but did he go in as a safety or as a cornerback? Because he played both. He was really good at both. I mean, so not a lot of safeties in the Hall of Fame. So does the body of work of Earl Campbell, the amount of years he played, do they allow him entry into Canton? I don't know. There's no real standard. His impact in the game is obvious. The guy is a monster. He did a lot of dirty work. He was the quarterback of that defense, and he's awesome. So we'll see. Hoping that he reconsiders his retirement, because that would suck. So in other news and health news, RG3 is healthy again, just in time to start today, and to be injured again. So hooray for Cleveland. That's good news, I guess, that you get at least one starting quarterback back in there to start before. I mean, you guys might want to line up another one, like, I don't know, maybe you want to get, like, not Manziel, but who he parties with out there, because Manziel's not going to do shit for you. Either way, I'm curious to see what RG3 injures next. I'm curious to see what he injures next. Shoulder, knee, wrist, you know what? I'm going for a rib injury or a concussion. That's what I'm going for. RG3 will either get a concussion today or a rib injury, and it won't miss it. But he may miss the end of the season, but he'll miss at least 2 weeks. That's what I'm calling. That's my prediction. Write that shit down. Philly is a active dumpster fire right now. The Eagles are falling apart. 3-game slide, right? I'm going to say they've lost like 5 out of 7 or some crazy something like that. Eagles are just not playing good football. Carson Wentz turned the ball over. The receivers are absolutely terrible, and now the defense is kind of like giving up. And really, the last time I really watched them, I had a chance to watch them, was the time they played the Packers at home, and for all the home field advantage the Eagles had maintained defensively, all that shit went out the window when they played the Packers, and because Aaron Rodgers had his way. I think they may have sacked him once, maybe. I know they hit him a couple times, but that was it. The front four couldn't get pressure. Cornerbacks were getting ate up all over the field. Safeties, folks were quitting on plays, and it just got worse. This is just not a good team right now. Like the 3-game win streak at the beginning of the season and the beating of the Steelers kind of cast the illusion that this was a solid team that can compete. We knew that there were some issues with the receiving core. We knew there were issues with the defensive backfield, but we felt that maybe they could scheme their way through it, knowing that they had holes in their talent base. But at this point now, the accuracy's gone down. You've had too many offensive linemen go down. You've had, your one receiver that you had went down with Jordan Matthews. You lost Ryan Matthews to injury. You lose Sproles to injury for a minute. Your nickel corner blows a thigh. I mean, it's just a mess in Philadelphia right now. You have, Aguilar gets sat because he sucks. Dorial Green-Beckham gets fined $6,000 for wearing Yeezy cleats, which are hideous. But he decided he wanted to stick it to the man and wear the cleats for the Yeezy Foundation, which doesn't exist. So he got fined like $62K for that. Not $62K, but $6,200 for that. But he's injured as well. He's got no Blake injury, so he's down. I mean, so you just have all these players that are just sucking out loud. They're hurt, and so you have one guy who's good and he goes down. What happens? There's no one to step up, right? They got practice squad players in there, like Paul Turner and some other guys, and they're undrafted free agent rookies, and they're starting at your like 1 and 2 receiver position for the Eagles. You're not going to win games with those guys. At this point, you're just trying to salvage what's left of Carson Wentz. That's all you can do, right? That's all you can do. And now there's concerns that maybe all this losing and sucking out loud is actually affecting Carson Wentz's mojo, because for a while he actually was the reason the team was winning, him and the defense, right? And then it was just the defense, and now there is no reason for winning because they're not winning, because the defense is coughing up 35 points a game, and Carson Wentz is throwing 3 inexplicable picks, trying to force the ball to receivers that probably shouldn't be receivers at this level, but there they are. So there's a lot of problems in Philadelphia, obviously, right? And then there's the coaching staff itself. I don't know, is Doug Peterson calling the right plays? Because we know, sure as shit, he doesn't know what he's doing in a press conference. Like, as the season's gone on, Doug Peterson's become a liability in a press conference, right? He threw his players under the bus saying they kind of quit after saying that he didn't see any quit and he doesn't know what he's doing. So we're at this like moment where he needs to figure out who he's going to be. If he's going to throw players under the bus, throw them under the bus, right? You look at winning coaches like Belichick and Tomlin and these other guys, and if they have a shit game, they come out and they say it like, yo, we sucked. This is where we failed. This is where we failed. We're going to fix this. We're going to fix this. And they go and they take care of it, right? For all those folks in Pittsburgh who still feel somehow that the Steelers are Cowher's team because you're assholes. For those who felt like the first championship that Tomlin won belonged to Cowher, he's a hell of a coach. And if you look at his track record, he's been a hell of a coach for his career. You look at Belichick, he's off the Parcells coaching tree. The Parcells coaching tree typically doesn't take no shit. They're going to call things as they are. That's the tough love component of football. So these are coaches that call their players out. And so Doug Peterson's got to figure out if he's going to be that guy. You can still be a player's coach and hold them accountable when they're quitting, because Leotis McKelvin quit on a couple plays. I know he quit on a couple plays because he could have came up and stuffed a run, and he just kind of stood there and watched him score. There's folks that are quitting out there, but to say they aren't, then they say they are. Make up your mind. Either you're going to be an asshole or you're not. Make up your mind. It's okay to be an asshole. Right now, you're in a massive slide. You've lost yourself out of playoff contention. You could be a bit of a dick. Folks need to understand that their way they're playing the game isn't what it needs to be. So also, for the last 4 years, I've been hearing that Zach Ertz is primed for a breakout season. I have yet to see a breakout season out of Zach Ertz. Now, it's always been some conspiracy of events that prevent him from having a breakout season. Oh, well, the O-line is trash. Or, well, he's being left back to block. Or, well, the quarterback's not that good. Or this. Listen, Zach Ertz, for all the talent he has right now, I don't know if he's going to have a breakout season. I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think he's just going to be that guy that always could have been. He's going to be that guy that always could have been and never was. And Aguilar's a lost cause. I don't see him being anything better than the number 4 receiver on this team, let alone another team. Now, maybe if there's a trade or something, he gets released, he gets to go to a team that's got some wide receiver whisperer that can help him unlock his actual potential and play like he did at Southern Cal. But we obviously don't have that in Philly, so I don't see it happening. I think Aguilar being sat was a good thing, and I think that it sets the stage for him to get traded. Maybe not this next year, but the year after that, or just straight released. Because right now, to get rid of him as a huge cap hit, because he's still in his rookie contract and his protections against that because he's a first rounder. But I don't see his future being in Philadelphia over the next 3 years. He'll be gone. Unless he decides that he's just gonna go unlock his mind in the offseason on his own and start balling out. I don't see him having a future in Philadelphia past next year. I mean, I think contractually they'll let him be on the team next year. Maybe push him down. Can they push him down to the practice squad? Because I mean, it frees up a roster spot. I don't know, man. There's got to be something. Either way, there's some needs, like I said, right? Your quarterbacks are suspect. Your offensive line doesn't have the necessary depth, and your receivers are trash except for one. So what do you do, right? We know that Deshaun Jackson is probably going to hit free agency, and he's a sexy choice. He return to Philadelphia. Oh, welcome back, Deshaun. Even though we booed you for no apparent reason, I didn't understand that when it happened. Right? It wasn't like if Deshaun Jackson had held his breath and pouted and demanded a trade, I can understand Eagles fans booing him. But he was sent away by Chip Kelly. He wanted to be in Philadelphia. He was happy in Philadelphia. And for him to be sent away and then be booed when he returns, and I kind of get it, F you, you're not on my team. No, I totally get it. But, it didn't make sense to me. And he said as much, and I understood his sentiment. Like, I don't know why they're booing me. I didn't ask to leave. He was right. He didn't ask to leave. He would much rather have been in Philly than in D.C. But he's hitting free agency, right? Because between him and Garcon, if given the choice, I'm going to go with Garcon. Because Garcon's going to catch all those passes. He's like a bigger Steve Smith in that he plays with an edge. He plays the position in a very physical manner. He does. He runs over people. He's aggressive. And so yeah, it's I'd want a Garcon over a Jackson. Now Jackson provides you that, over the top, speed. But Garcon's gonna get you for, 12 passes a game, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I'm good with that. I'm good with that. The home run is always nice. But I'd much rather have that consistency, that ability to catch. Now, if the Eagles pursue Jackson, which I hope they don't. Now, here's why I hope they don't. Because Jackson's going to cost a lot of money. Jackson is a 30-year-old veteran free agent. He's going to cost a certain amount of money, which is going to be infinitely more than what a rookie would cost. So all these needs that the Eagles have, right? All these needs at cornerback, especially at cornerback and receiver, those acquisitions are expensive in free agency. If you go out and you get you a free agent cornerback, you're either going to get some bargain basement bullshit or you're going to spend top dollar. We've already done the top dollar thing with Byron Maxwell and Nnamdi Asamoah, and neither one of those worked out. Neither one of those signings worked out. In fact, most times they don't, especially for this franchise. So give up on the whole free agent thing and just start drafting and developing your own goddamn talent. Andy Reid was actually pretty good at that. But the last cornerbacks that we drafted that were worth a shit were Lito Shepherd, and there was a Bobby Taylor that we drafted, and that was really it. That was it. We haven't drafted anyone of note since then. Since the early 90s. It's been pretty sad, but Lito gave us a lot of good years. So either way, so right now we have a number 3 in Jordan Matthews. He's a good number 3. You have a project in Dorial Beckenham. You have nobody else. You need to draft 1 to 2 solid receivers in this year's draft. You also need to draft 3 defensive backs that can play corner and develop into something good. And you need at least 1 or 2. You need a guard or 2 and maybe a tackle, right? So the reason I say maybe a tackle is because I don't know how many years Jason Peters has left. We know Lane Johnson's got more years left. Granted, he doesn't get himself suspended again. But Lane Johnson's not going anywhere. He's healthy, right? And Vaitai, whatever his name is, Vaitai, he actually after that game with Kerrigan, where Kerrigan ate his lunch, he turned out to be solid. So he's a solid right tackle, right? So you have a solid right tackle. You have a good starter in that position that's going to slide, that was drafted explicitly to slide to the left tackle position. So your tackle spots starting wise are solid, right? But where you get into problems is behind them, right? Behind them. So you have some versatile journeyman free agents that were picked up that can plug different positions, but they're not like outstanding in any of those positions. So you just kind of need to develop a little more depth. So you can probably get away with the free agent signing or two because linemen kind of are the depth linemen do move around and you get some good depth linemen out there. But ultimately, it's best to get them in the draft and to build them. It's best to get them in the draft and build them. So I'm hoping that the Eagles have a smart plan going into this year's draft because I don't see us doing shit this season. It's going to go down to the draft and being smart. Because, I mean, look at how the draft impacted Dallas. Look at how the draft impacted some of these other teams. They came out with some solid players that contributed immediately. Who do we have that's contributing positively immediately other than Carson Wentz? Nobody. No one really. Because either they're hurt or they're not doing shit. So there's that, right? There's that. Moving on to the AFC West. So who's the truth, right? So the Raiders came out and they won some serious games, man. They were coming out, they were gambling, they were going for two, they were playing to win, and they were winning, which was crazy, right? Because you expected Denver to just absolutely dominate this division. You expected Denver to run away with it because they're the champions from last year, and the defense was so rock solid and everything else, and Von Miller and whatever. You expected Denver to just run away with this division, and that's not what's happened. Denver's actually in third behind the Chiefs, who are in first now, and the Raiders, who just lost to the Chiefs, and which that's how the Chiefs got to first. So of those three teams, right, we're just gonna remove Denver off the table right now because if their defense doesn't show up the way it needs to, they're done because their offense simply doesn't have the firepower. Zombie Peyton Manning provided a hell of a lot more than I actually expected or understood him to provide until he was gone. So I'm going to have to give Zombie Peyton Manning his props on that he was able to provide quite a bit of leadership on that offense because Simeon's, whatever his name is, isn't doing it. Whoever they're putting back there isn't doing it. So it's up to their defense exclusively. Now, the Raiders have a rock-solid offense, right? Their offense is good, and they have a rock star with Khalil Mack on defense who by himself will destroy your team. Now, is he on the same level as Von Miller? I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. I'll say he is actually, because Von Miller is surrounded by the likes of DeMarcus Ware and a bunch of other top tier talent, and Khalil Mack is not. So you can't really focus on Von Miller without neglecting some other all-star. That's not happening in Oakland. So I'm going to say Khalil Mack is actually better as an outside linebacker than Von Miller. I'm saying it. I'm saying that Khalil Mack's better than Von Miller, and when it comes time for him to get paid, he's going to get paid Von Miller money because I think he's better than Von Miller. Because he is all they have on that damn line. So you can double, triple team him, and he's still destroying offensive coordinators' game plans. So Khalil Mack for the win on that one. Now, as far as the division, look, I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs. Right now, while Jack Del Rio, the head coach for Oakland, has won because he's bold and he plays to win, Andy Reid has his team has figured out a way to actually remove Andy Reid from the equation when it comes to generating wins. They actually won a game with 0 seconds of game clock a couple weeks ago. They ran back a 2-point conversion for a touchdown, right? So it wasn't a pick six, it was a pick two. Now, during these 2-point conversions and field goals, the game clock doesn't run. So, in essence, it went, the other team scored a touchdown, and then before any game clock actually went through, they were still losing somehow because the Chiefs came and scored two. And then that other team, since they scored a touchdown, had to kick the ball off to the Chiefs, who had 5 minutes to just milk the clock and go down the field and end the game, which is what they did. So I'm saying that the Chiefs are probably the better team because we know Andy Reid has really bad clock management, but the Chiefs have figured out a way to negate Andy Reid's bad clock management by just going out and winning the game themselves. So these guys are creating plays. These veterans are creating plays and winning games on their own. And they do have a more solid defensive line, and they are still young, but these guys are veterans. So Oakland doesn't have their veteran presence yet. But when they do, they're going to be super dangerous. They're just young right now. So like I said early in the season, they're a young team. They're going to get better. So next year, the Raiders could take the division because right now they're in position to do so. I just don't know if they're going to be able to because the Chiefs are playing so well. Then again, the Chiefs do let me down every time. I forget they exist a lot of times, but this year I kind of I've been paying attention to them, and they've been playing some pretty damn entertaining football. So I'm saying the Chiefs take the division this year. I'm saying that Khalil Mack is better than Von Miller. I'm saying that Denver might make the wild card. Maybe they probably will, because the rest of the AFC, for the most part, is garbage. But yeah, Chiefs are definitely taking that division. Oakland will be there next year. Moving on to Cleveland, right? Actually, I'm sorry. I think the Chiefs will not only take the division, but they're going to take it to the conference championship. They're going to win a couple playoff games, and they're going to be in the conference championship playing against the likes of the Steelers, the Patriots, somebody else, and that's going to be who goes to the big dance against whoever the NFC decides to shit out. So there we go. Cleveland, winless, still. RG3, he's back. Not going to matter. It's just going to be another injury. So, like I said, concussion, rib injury, at least 2 weeks. That's what I see happening with RG3. So that's my prediction. Take it to the bank. All right, so the uneducated predictions for this upcoming week. 14? 14. You have the Steelers and the Bills. All right, Steelers and the Bills. Steelers 20, Bills 17. Broncos, Titans. The Broncos 28, Titans 10. Now, the reason I have the Broncos scoring that many points with their offense being so bad is because their defense will create points on their own. The strip sacks, the interceptions, they take it to the house more often than you think. And I see the defense producing at least 7 points for this team. And I don't. And as good as Mariota and everyone's playing in Tennessee, I don't see their offense being strong enough to overcome Denver's defense. Not right now. The Eagles are playing the Pigskins in Philly, and I'm going to go with the Pigskins in this one, 35-13. The Eagles are on a slide. The Eagles are playing terrible football right now, and the Pigskins are playing some solid football. And I don't see the Eagles having enough talent on the field to beat this team. They simply don't have it. They don't have enough in the defensive backfield to stop the passing attack. Their defense is quitting anyway. They definitely don't have enough on the offensive side to challenge that adequate defense that the Skins have. The Pigskins don't have a dominant defense. They have an adequate defense. If you've got a good offensive players, you can beat them, right? Josh Norman is good, but he's not locked down, awesome shutdown. He just talks a lot. That's all he does. So the Eagles don't have anyone that can challenge him. Like no one. Like no one. So they don't have anyone that can challenge any cornerback. I think I can go out there and play cornerback for the Skins and probably cover down our Eagles receivers pretty well, as it stands right now with all the surgeries and everything. All right, so we have the the Cardinals and the Dolphins. Cardinals taking that one 24-21. As good as the Dolphins are playing, like I said, they haven't beaten anybody of note. The Chargers versus the Panthers. The Chargers, I have them scoring 21, Panthers 17. The Panthers are terrible. I don't see that stopping. The Bengals versus the Browns. The Bengals 24, Browns 10. I have the Browns putting up 10 points. Actually, the Bengals could stand to put up more, but they are missing their number one receiver in A.J. Green, so we'll see what happens with that. But the Browns are going to go winless. This is going to be terrible. The Bears versus the Lions. I have the Bears scoring 13, the Lions scoring 30. The reason I have that, the Lions lost to the Bears earlier this season, and the Bears are terrible, and the Lions are playing good football, so I'm going to go with the Lions, not just to win, but to really wear them out. Going to the Texans and the Colts. I have the Texans scoring 24, the Colts scoring 27. That'll probably put the Colts in first place in the AFC South, which won't matter because that division is terrible. We have the Vikings versus Jaguars, 27-14, Vikes. Like I said, the best 2-10 team you'll ever play, but you'll still beat them. So, the Jaguars. The Jets versus the Niners. I have the Jets scoring 6, the Niners scoring 14. Apparently, is Bryce Petty time over there in Jersey. So, the Jets are just so bad. They're so bad. It's one thing to lose quarterbacks because they're injured, but it's another thing to just keep benching them, right? It's not like, Geno Smith got hurt, but Geno Smith was probably going to get benched anyway. They're just, I don't know, man. I thought Fitzpatrick would just do better this year. I think everyone did. He's just been a disappointment, and the Jets have been a disappointment considering the amount of money they spent at free agency. But maybe they knew, which is why they didn't want to sign him. So they gave themselves an out. Good luck on selecting your next quarterback. We have the Saints and the Bucks. I have the Saints put up 35 and the Bucks 27. Now this was a tough one to call because, like I said, the NFC South is they're not consistent. All right, they have some offensive firepower in that division, but it doesn't always show up. But Drew Brees has been fairly consistent throughout his career in New Orleans, so he can put up some video game scores in this team. We'll see how they protect him and how his receivers catch the ball. So moving on, the Falcons versus the Rams. Have the Falcons putting up 35 as well against the Rams 16. Once again, like I said, Jeff Fisher's terrible. The Rams are terrible. That's not going to change this week against Julio Jones and the Falcons. The Seahawks versus the Packers. I have the Seahawks scoring 28 and the Packers scoring 27. Now, I'm hoping for another Fail Mary. That would be great. Another Fail Mary, and I wanted to put a fork in Green Bay's season. Now, mind you, I do not like the Seahawks, but I acknowledge the Seahawks. They're playing good enough football. I don't think that the Packers are. So I would like to see another Fail Mary just so I can see Green Bay fans cry. Or, yeah. So then we have the Cowboys and the Giants. After Cowboys winning by 21-20. I'm just not – I don't know what the Giants are doing. And I never do because they have so much talent and then something happens. Like they just lost JPP. I think his back went out as well. He's done for the season. So the guy with the hamburger helper glove just went down and he's not coming back. And that affects their pass rush a lot. Remember he blew his hand apart and he got it all rebuilt. And he's, last year he was getting back in the swing of things. But this year he was in form again. And he was coming out and he was making it happen. He was a force and he had to be accounted for, and now he's done. So that's a definite impact on their defensive line. They don't have the depth to replace. Not many people have the depth to adequately replace a talent like JPP. Fingers or not. So I think that's going to kill him. I think that the loss of JPP will be just enough for that Dak gets enough time to throw the ball. So we'll see. And this week's childhood food of the week. Those of y'all know what I'm talking about. Homemade McDonald's, right? You're growing up, you want McDonald's, you want a Happy Meal, whatever, and your parents are like, no, we're going to make McDonald's at home, right? So what they do is they get the patty, and they try to make the patty by hand, and fry it in a skillet, and put it on a couple slices of bread, and with the lettuce, tomato, and everything. So what you end up with, though, is like a meatball on bread that is already had the grease seep through and it's falling apart with all these things, but that's the closest you get. Now, I remember that. I remember us not knowing how to press out fast food patties. I didn't know how to do that until I was well into my adulthood and already had my own family, and actually YouTube was a thing. Could you imagine if we had something like YouTube in the 80s, being able to reference a video to learn how to do anything, how much greater things would have been? But we didn't have it. So that was the food from my childhood, was the homemade McDonald's burger that no one knew how to really make. It was it was always like the burger would shrink and it would fluff up instead and be going from a patty to a meatball, and then you would just have a meatball on the bread, which was too thin. It wasn't a bun. But hey, look, that's what you got to do. McDonald's costs money, and shit, we got food in the house. Let's do it, man. It's not really struggle food, but it's definitely not wealthy people food. So, I remember eating that growing up. So, by the way, for those of you trying to actually make the McDonald's at home, who haven't discovered how to do it on YouTube, what you got to do is you take your meat and you put it in the meatballs, right? Nice sized meatballs, and then you put it on wax paper, right? And you get your patties, and then you take another piece of wax paper, lay it on top of that, and you take like a plate or a tray or something flat, and you squish it down. You squish it down to where it's nice and thin, and that's how you make your fast food burger patties. That's how they do it. They don't really like fluff up and get thick. They just kind of stay flat, and that's how you do it. So you can stack them up 2 and 3 at a time, and that's how you get your burgers. And that's what I've been doing for a few years, and it works out pretty good for me. But yeah, so if you're trying to do McDonald's at home, and even if you're trying to use sliced bread, it will work for you because we've done it. So there you go. You're welcome. Take that. Google it if you need more detail and figure this shit out. So hot take of the week. Hot take of the week. Carson Wentz will be throwing someone under the bus this week. I don't know who it's going to be, though. It could be Schwartz. It could be Peterson. It could be his entire receiving core. It could be the running game. It could be the defense. It could be the O-line. It could be anyone. There's so much dysfunction in Philly that you could throw a dart at a board with other positions and skill position sets on it, and you could rightfully bitch about those folks. That's how bad things are in Philly. But Ginger Jesus, this guy, Carson Wentz, the chosen one from Dakota, who's always been nice, he's going to lose his shit this week because they're going to go get their asses whooped at home by a division rival, and it's going to be ugly, and he's going to be tired of it, and he's going to respond poorly to it. At least I hope he does. I hope he does because he needs to. right? How long can you sit there and just say nice things about the guys who are failing you? Go out there, talk some shit, and fuck it, dude. What do you got to lose? Being nice obviously isn't getting it done. So I need him to express his anger towards his own team publicly because I think it needs to happen, and it'd be entertaining because I want to see how he does it. Because I don't see him as one who swears a lot, right? Or so it would be uncomfortable. Like he would maybe pause before saying fuck or shit or something. But I want to see it happen. So as usual, look, I'm on iTunes, I'm on Stitcher, I'm on SoundCloud, I'm on Mixcloud, and I'm on YouTube. Now, some of you may find the takes and whatnot offensive, and that's great. You can let me know how you feel about them by sending an email to dirtdiggler2823@gmail.com. I promise I'll respond to you. You know, maybe you have good points. Maybe you don't. You won't know unless you contact me. So let me know. I'll read your stuff online on the air, so to speak, and I'll take it apart and we'll prove, you know, whether or not your points were valid or not. Because, you know, I'm pretty good at this, but I'm not perfect, and maybe you've got a take that I didn't consider. So you know, let me know what you think. All right. So as always, it's been real, it's been fun, and it's been real fun. Dirt Diggler out.